So we have the AAA, AA, High A, Single A, and Rookie Ball scores for June 11th, 2026. So we have Lehigh Valley and Scranton Wilkes-Barre played a game to the top of the fourth, and that becoming a rain-delayed suspension, and it's scoreless through 3 innings, and they got an out in the fourth, top of the fourth for Lehigh Valley. Scranton Wilkes-Barre got out, and there are 3 hits for Lehigh Valley, 1 hit for Scranton Wilkes-Barre. And that's going to be complete on June 12th. And on June 12th, you'll see what time it is. Game 1 is going to be at 3:35 Eastern. Game 2 is going to be at 6:05 Eastern. Or Game 1 is resumption of the game. It's 9-inning game. Game 2 is going to turn into a 7-inning game. And that's going to start at the regular scheduled time of 6:05 Eastern time. So then we have Louisville 20-3 over Iowa, dominating win Louisville over Iowa. Buffalo 3-1 over Syracuse. Charlotte 9-8 winners over Oklahoma City. Indianapolis 11-6 over Columbus. Gwinnett dominates Jacksonville 14-5. St. Paul 1-0 Puch win 1-0 over Toledo. Well, not a huge dominating win, but it was a nice win. St. Paul needed that win, to stay near the top of the International League. I mean, I know they're probably they may not win the National League, but they're still in solid top 5 spot, which is not bad though. Even though it's not like the other leagues, the top 2 get in the first half, and then you have the top, and then the top 2 get in. This from the second half, or if the first or second place team gets in the first or second spot from the same team for the first half, one of the same teams or both, then it goes to 3 or possibly 4. So, and in AAA, they only do it to where now they have the AAA championship weekend. Thing where it's at a neutral site, and then they have the home team, which is in Las Vegas. It's been so I don't know, but they don't do it kind of the 4 teams anymore. Which I kind of like that, and then they have their own championship thing the other leagues do. They have kind of their own league-based playoff system with 4 teams for the league. That league in in the AA, High A, Single A, Rookie Ball, and then so what is man. We have Nashville 16-5 over Durham. In 10 innings, El Paso 7-6 over Round Rock. Las Vegas 5-2 over Roma. Sugar 2-0 over Sacramento. Reno 7-4 over Salt Lake. Tacoma 9-5 over Albuquerque. And then we have Rochester and Worcester played a doubleheader. Worcester 3 in the first. Rochester 1 in the first, 2 in the third. Run for both in the fourth, and then 2 in the fifth. And Rochester wins 6-4 over Worcester. Memphis beats Norfolk in game 1, 7-0. 5 in the second, 2 in the third for Memphis. In the second game, make up of Wednesday's game. Memphis 6-2 winners over Norfolk. Memphis with 5 in the first, 1 in the second for Norfolk, and 1 in the third for both. And Memphis wins 6-2. And then it was going to be a second game of the doubleheader between Rochester and Worcester. And that was they're actually scheduled to play 7 this series, because it was a makeup game from when the 2 teams played in Worcester earlier this season. However, they mutually agreed to cancel that instead of replaying that on Friday or Saturday, which should be most likely. That would be the most likely case, if they were, because they wouldn't try to schedule it for Sunday. They would at least probably do it Friday or Saturday, And then Chesapeake 4-0 over Altoona. Erie 8-7 over Akron. Somerset 3-1 over Bloomington. Spring 5-3 over Portland. Chattanooga 4-2 over Rexy. Richmond 11-10 over Harrisburg. In 11 innings, Pensacola 6-5 winners over Columbus. Hartford 5-3 over New Hampshire. Knoxville 14-5 over Montgomery. Arkansas 6-2 over North Carolina. Then 8-5 over Corpus Christi. Tulsa 7-6 over Wichita. Birmingham shuts up Biloxi 8-0. Frisco 6-3 over San Diego. In Amarillo 13-4 over Springfield. In hot A baseball, we have Wilmington 9-5 over Greensboro. Hoosier 8-7 Hudsonville. At Hub City 8-7 over Asheville in 10 innings. We have Frederick 3-2 over Brooklyn. Winston-Salem 9-1 over Greenville. Lake County 6-5 over West Michigan. Lansing with a 7-4 win over Cedar Rapids. Peoria with a 16-6 win over South Bend. Dean with a 5-4 win over Fort Wayne. Rome 8-7 over Bowling Green. Hillsboro 2-0 over Tri-C. Spokane 7-6 over Eugene. Vancouver 4-2 over Everett. And there was supposed to be a game between Quad Cities and Beloit. However, that was postponed due to rain, and it's rescheduled for Friday, June 12th. Usually they reschedule for the next day. But sometimes they might schedule a couple days in advance. But they schedule for Friday. And then Great Lakes, Wisconsin was supposed to end up playing a doubleheader today. One of the games was the regularly scheduled game for June 11th. And then one of them was the doubleheader. It was a 7-game series. Because the one game that Great Lakes in Wisconsin had a game that was Wisconsin Great Lakes had a game postponed that was played between them two when the series was in Great Lakes, at Great Lakes Field. However, it was supposed to be played on Wednesday, which usually is what the doubleheaders are scheduled for. Wednesdays when they're playing. And it's a makeup from the other team's field. And then they played. That didn't happen. Played Thursday. Neither game was played. Because what they'd have to do is, the reason why that game got canceled was they would have to play one of them on. They could reschedule both of them, but one of them would be Friday. One of them would be Sunday. And instead of just end up doing that. And then if there was another game, if another, what they would have to end up canceling, both of them, I think. Honestly, if they did that, because they could play Friday. But then if they end up having it, I don't know. Because if they could have one be Friday, one be Sunday. But then I guess if one of them got postponed, I guess if, they don't play doubleheaders back-to-back days, they could. But they probably just end up canceling them then. So this way they just end up canceling one and playing the rescheduled game. And that rescheduled game from Great Lakes. They're trying to hold on to as much as they can. But honestly, it may happen, it may not. But now it's turned into instead of a 7-game series, it's to make up the game in Great Lakes. And being, and they ended up making now this turned into a 6-game series with that cancellation between the original scheduled game between Great Lakes and Wisconsin. So from June 11th, Thursday, June 11th. Game one of the Quad Cities Blade Series is at 5 Eastern. Game 2 is roughly 7:30 Eastern time. And then the Great Lakes Series Game 1 is at 5:30 Eastern. Game 2 is to make up from Neuroscience Group Field, which is it's sponsored by the Neuroscience Group, who sponsors the name rights to the field. So obviously, minor league, you kind of have to have name sponsor rights fields, honestly. Man. In the United States, I mean, they have more sponsored, but in Europe they do too, but it's not as much, as in the United States. I mean, you kind of have to with minor league, though. And then, in single A, San Jose defeats Stockton 17-9. Fort Myers and Dundon and Fort Myers were scheduled to play a doubleheader. The second game of the doubleheader, or one of the games of the doubleheader, between Dundon and Fort Myers, is not finished. They're going to end up playing. I'm not sure if they're going to end up keeping the second game, like the second game, 9 innings, or they're going to turn to a 7-inning game. But either way, it is a 1-0 win for Fort Myers. Lead for Fort Myers to run the third. They couldn't finish it because you have to finish 4.5 innings if the home team is winning, which in this case Fort Myers is the home team and they're winning. And that's it. And they have to finish if Dundon happen to score run to tie it up, or 2 even, to take the lead, They can't call off and say, oh, it's 4.5 innings. Nope, the home team gets a chance to respond if And then we had the completion, so that'll be played tomorrow. And then the completion of June 10th game between Tampa and Bradenton, the Wednesday game. Bradenton. In a 9-inning game, also speaking of Denver Formers, in a 9-inning game, halfway is 4.5 innings. So 4.5 innings is the halfway point for a completed game. And that's if the home team was number 5, if the away team was winning. So, but in the first game, in the originally scheduled game, Bradenton had run the first, but then in the game we scheduled for yesterday, the 10th, the completed game fish, and then Bradenton scored 2 in the 6th, and then Tampa with 1 in the 8th. And that ended Bradenton 3-1 victors over Tampa. Wilson 17 Helsey, 60 Jethro Palm Beach, Clear 5-2 Lake. Tampa in the second game, so the 7-inning game. Tampa with 4 in the second, Bradenton 1 in the 6th, and Tampa with 3 in the 7th. They win 7-1 over Bradenton. Jupiter 7-2 over Daytona. Fayetteville 12-5 over Sam. Kannapolis 6-4 for Fredericksburg. Charleston 9-3 over Hickory. Myrtle Beach 11-7 over Augusta. Columbia 9-8 over Delmarva. Ontario 10-8 over Lake Osborne. Fresno 7-5 over Lake Vizsla. Fresno 7-5 over Vizsla. In the pair 6-5 over Rancho Cuca. And in the first game, done in Fort Myers, Dundon defeats Fort Myers 10-5. It was a long game. Not really. Not in the beginning it really was. It was 2 in the first for Dundon, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, and 3 in the 6th for Fort Myers. And then 8 in the 7th for Dundon. And that's really what made the game go extra long. Otherwise, I mean, they probably could have actually hit that if there was a big 8-run 7th inning for Dundon. They could have actually probably been in like the 5th inning, to finish the 5th inning completely for both teams, or even at least finish the top of the 5th for Dundon and then call that off and said, oh, it reached the point, we're going to call it off and it's done. We're not going to make it up. Because it's not like Major League where they try to make games up as much as they can. I mean, yes, they still do that rule, So they have to make it up if it's not the series, like, finale, they still like want to play every game inning possible if it's not the series finale day. Yes, they do, but they do that rule in Major League as well, where they do call off games after a 4.5 inning mark. So they have to make it up, like wait, and then hey, next time they play, regardless of where they play, you know, they have to remake that game up. They have to finish that game up. They don't want to do that. So when they're in rookie ball, we have the American Summer League. And in the Cubs Blue defeated Braves 10-3. The Batista and Mega 10-5. And then must be kind of weird having two teams, they have in Summer League or the American Summer League. Some teams have one team. Yeah, I have to have at least one team in like the American Summer League. But since there's a lot of talent in the American Summer League, a lot of teams decide to use two. And it's kind of weird having two teams play against each other. But then again, in the real games, even if it's 7 innings, even if it's a 7 inning game, it's easier to evaluate talent, for both your teams, You can kind of decide, like, hey, who do you think should move up to maybe like a American like complex league, like the Florida complex league or the Arizona complex league. In this case, it's the Arizona complex league, or move up to like high A, single A. So I like that, that they do have the Dominican League. I know it's like a high school league probably for players in the Dominican Republic, but kind of reminds me of like those other leagues. Like they have the New England Collegiate Baseball League. They have like other collegiate baseball leagues like California leagues. Other states probably have leagues like small leagues, like travel ball leagues that they play for at college or high school players in this. So, they play in. So I like that, but and it does kind of bring them up professionally. So it's kind of like a win-win, You go with side money. I'm sure they're not getting paid a ton, but they're getting paid something, and they get something for their, they get to work on the building their pro careers. It's like win-win, for them. Giants orange 8-5 over Blue Jays blue. Brewers blue 15-7 over Celia Mendoza. Cardinals 7 over Marlins. Padres brown 10-6 over Esters blue. In 8 innings, Orioles black 6-5 over Reds. And that game was scheduled to go 7, but they didn't have 1-8 just because of the tie. So your signs. Rouse Ventura 8-2 over Athletics. Phillies 6-2, 6-8. Or Phillies 8-6. Excuse me. Phillies 8-6 over Tigers 1. In 10 innings, DSL Mariners 14-13 over White Sox. Some decide to go 7. Some are 9 in innings in this one. It just depends on what the two teams decide. Which they agree to before they. And that one they agreed to a 9-inning game. White Sox and Mariners, so mixed teams. NY Yankees 13-2 over over the Twins. Angels 8-1 winners over the Nationals. Mets blue 6-3 over Mets orange. Padres gold 11-4 over Red Sox red. The Royals Fortuna squad 2-1 winners over Red Sox blue. Colorado 4-1 winners over Rangers blue. Rockies red 4-3, or Rangers red, excuse me. I said Rockies red. Rangers red 4-3 over Rockies. Tampa Bay 5-3 winners over Pirates black. NY Bombers fall to Arizona red 10-2. Miami 7-2 over Tigers 2. And then Giants black 3-2 over Blue Jays red. Rojos 69 over Orioles orange. Cubs red 3-2 over Pirates gold. Astros 11-10 over Rays. Brewers gold 12-9 over Sealy World. In the Florida complex, the Red Sox 26-6 over Braves. The Tigers 4-2 over Phillies. Twins 7 over Pirates. Nationals 4 over Cardinals. Yankees 7-6 over Blue Jays. In 9 innings, was scheduled to go 7, but it went 9. Astros 7-4 runs. Rays 5-4 Orioles. And then Arizona Cubs Giants 5-0 for Cubs. Brewers 5-2 Mariners. Padres 10-7 Rangers. Rockies 22-2 Angels. Royals 10-2 White Sox. Guardians 17-6 Reds. And Diamondbacks 6-1 over Athletics.